Welcome back to what I'm calling the Networking Starter Pack. This is a mini-series of lessons covering foundational networking. Everything you do with AWS uses networking. Every type of interaction. When you communicate with AWS, when you create connections between your on-premises network and AWS, it all uses networking. Whether you're an architect, a developer, or a systems administrator, you have to understand this fully in order to confidently interact with AWS. Now let's jump in and get started. Networking can refer to many things. Some of these are local, some global, and some application. And this series is going to step through them all. I'm going to start with local networking, so how data moves between devices on your local network. Now this is foundational to everything. It's the starting point or ending point of data which moves across the internet. I'm also going to be covering routing, so how data moves across the internet from your network through to Netflix or AWS. When data moves across the internet, it's moving across many interconnected networks, and so that's why local networking matters. You have to understand that to understand the internet. I'll be covering how data is chopped up for reliable transit, what network ports are and why they're used, and what sessions are and how they all help to ensure reliable data transfer which is used by your applications. Now the best way that I found to fully understand networking is via the OSI 7-layer model. This is a way of breaking up networking into 7 distinct components. We start at the bottom with physical networking and end at the top with application networking. Now I've included links in the lesson description which give some background reading, but this series will be explained using this 7-layer OSI model. It's important at the outset just to say that the OSI model is a conceptual thing. It's not always how networking software is implemented, but it does form a good foundation so that newcomers can understand how each component works and interacts with all of the others. Now this is how it looks, 7 layers stacked on top of each other. We start with physical, then data link, then network, transport, session, presentation, and finally application. If you ever hear the term networking stack, that's what this is, or rather the software which does each of these functions. That's known as the networking stack. Your laptop has a networking stack, so does your phone, so does your Wi-Fi or cable router, and so does the server that you're downloading this video from. The layers of the OSI model, they're divided into 2 groupings. We've got the media layers at the bottom, so physical, data link, and network, and then at the top we've got the host layers, transport, session, presentation, and application. Conceptually, think about the media layers as dealing with how data is moved between point A and point B, and these could be in the same local network or on opposite sides of the planet. The host layers, again, conceptually think about this as how the data is chopped up and reassembled for transport, and how it's formatted so that it's understandable by both sides of a network connection. Now I'm going to be going into much more detail on this over the coming lessons, but at a high level, at the top, layer 7, you might have a web browser such as Firefox and a web server at the other side of the connection. At the bottom in layer 1, you're going to have some kind of physical network cards or interfaces, and then conceptually, any data from the web browser flows down through the layers at one side, somehow arrives at the other side, and then flows back up to the web server software. Now this is just conceptual at this stage. I'm going to explain how all of the pieces fit together as we move through this lesson series. Now some of this might seem dry and somewhat theoretical, but I promise if you spend the time learning all of these different layers and the functions that they provide, then so much more of how networking functions at a real foundational level will make much more sense, and that's going to be really useful when you're dealing with AWS. So this is what we're going to be using throughout this series. Now the series is going to be broken up into bite-sized lessons, each of which cover one or more of these layers. I've structured it in a way so that it will be easy to understand. Now this seems like a good point to take a break, so go ahead and finish this video, and when you're ready you can join me in the next part where I'll be covering Layer 1, or the physical layer.